Hey guys, I'm Guin Collins,
And I'm Zahra Mehrene Samim.
and welcome back to our podcast, Step Up to Speak Up, Episode 3.
Yes, sir. Today's episode is about canceling cancel culture and how we can overcome this wave of toxicity by holding our influences accountable. We hope that you enjoy.
We had an idea that we wanted to start a podcast.
And it's important that you guys have your voices heard.
Because as a kid, I was bullied.
Step up to speak up.
And just a quick reminder, like we say most episodes, we are just teenagers. We are not scientists.
Period.
Yes, we are not scientists. We are not professionals. Um, we are not influencers. Well, kind of to our little audience, if you felt that. We love you all. You're our fan club. Um, but yeah, just keep that in mind that
So, Gwen, are you familiar with this so-called cancel culture?
for the most part, yeah,
Really? What's your experience? Have you been canceled?
I had to be canceled, luckily, but I see a lot of it all over social media.
Mm-hmm. How? Give me an example.
Give you an example. So I right now I don't have TikTok. Probably won't for a while because the whole banding stuff. Hopefully it doesn't because TikTok's great. But when I did have TikTok, um, I would watch people like the Hype House and Sway House and all that kind of stuff because I'm that kind of person. And I would watch like different members constantly being canceled for different things. Like there was literally I'm not gonna be even naming off names because I don't want to be that person. But just you constantly see all these influencers being canceled because they're not doing the exact perfection thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So we will be talking about influencers that we know are currently going through this cancel culture trial almost. But for now, here is the fancy definition. So, cancel culture is a behavior at the core of it, right? Boycotting companies and celebrities due to them breaking a social norm. But here's the kicker, it's different from boycotting because it's so much more intense and everyone creates a societal change rather than a personal change, right? And you're forcing other people to partake in it too, creating this weird bandwagon. And here's another catch, there are two different types of people within cancel culture. So there's the people like you and me, right? We would post something about or even talk about something that's happening in the drama world. Um, so whether that's reposting or tweeting out something and talking about it with our friends, um, because we're mad, right? And we want to stand up for our personal beliefs or stand up for the other person affected in the situation. But then there's a second way of life that is really dangerous. It's we're going to be referring that as cancel culture. So the first type, it's perfectly normal, but the second type is toxic. It's obsessing over cancel culture. And fun fact, this group that's obsessing over cancel culture, they're actually the minority of people, and they believe that they represent everyone. And if someone doesn't follow the rules, then cancel culture will mistranslate it to be a malicious act rather than a mistake. Having this mindset of people are all good or all bad. And cancel culture will never be satisfied with an end result. They believe that they represent a larger population, therefore causing them to have a moral high ground. That ego boost can be so toxic. Like, have you ever dealt with someone who just thinks that they're better than you in every single way possible? Like, oh, it's so annoying, right?
Really is. I was talking with a friend last night actually just about that conversation of having that one person that just thinks they're better than you in every way possible, and it's really annoying and it gets on some people's nerves really, really much. So
Hmm. And it's easy to pick up that vibe too. Having that almost narcissistic um, personality. And here's another thing about this minority of cancel culture. They will do wrong things to create a right. So to correct a right. But this isn't PEMDAS. This isn't algebra. This isn't math class. Get out of here. um, two negatives don't make a positive in this case. Because, if you're doxing a celebrity, right? If you're putting their family's name, their address, all of that very important stuff, that is so horrible. Like, can you imagine what would happen to them? And you might think, oh, yeah, people might just shout out their house or, just do random stuff in their area. But no, it's so much more worse than that. They could get killed. RIP Pop Smoke. They could get there's so many other things that they could go through. Like it's so much more serious than most people think, and we really need to think about like the whole entire situation before we do something spontaneous. Um so yeah, it's basically like internet trolling, but with this weird sort of false, almost performative activist twist. Um for those of you who don't follow me on Instagram, I like to consider myself somewhat of an activist. Yeah, I'm very activisty. And the fact that people think that doxing is like an activist move, it's not. You're not edgy, you're not funny, you're not cool. That's just like breaking so many laws. And also, like, from a moral standpoint, doing an Uno reverse card here, that's a horrible thing to do. What do you think, Gwen?
yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It's not okay and it's just very much ethically wrong, and it's not okay.
Exactly. And there's this misconception that like educating is canceling, right? If you cancel an influencer for their wrongdoings, then that gives them an opportunity to learn. But it doesn't. The person who is getting canceled may feel like alienated, right? And since they don't want to learn, right? It doesn't give them any opportunity to do so and to grow as a person. So, what we need to do is normalize sympathy and, most importantly, empathy and stop this bandwagon of hate when it's first born. Um, Especially when people make mistakes, right?
Yes, because my number one thing I'll always remember, one of my sixth grade math teachers, she passed away, but she had told the number one thing she always told us was mistakes are how you learn, and you learn from your mistakes, and mistakes are okay. In that case, it is math class. We brought up so many things already in this episode.
Yeah.
But it's okay to make mistakes, but if you don't learn from them, then it's not okay. But
Mhm.
when you're constantly canceling people and not letting them learn from their mistakes, it's not gonna do anything.
Exactly. Um, we definitely need to normalize making mistakes and growing from our past. Um, Another cancel culture fun fact here, it's bad for literally everyone involved. So the offender will probably have like their social and professional life ruined, and people within cancel culture will continue obsessing over punishing and tormenting the offenders. Um, it's literally gonna take over your life. Like we talked about this a bit in the zodiac sign slash other personality episode, and we basically talked about obsessing over zodiac signs and how, horoscopes can take over your life and you dedicate, trying to make your life perfect so it could fit your horoscope. But it's the same thing here. You can't have like an influencer like quit everything that they're doing and have a whole like reset in their career and go back. Um so yeah, that's something that's very like weird when I think about cancel culture. Like why do we do it? um Here are some other questions that I ask myself before I say canceled, or that you should probably ask yourself too before you join that bandwagon or before you repost that. So the first one is, do I prioritize saying something positive? Or do I only share feedback when others or specific people, um, with others or specific people when it's negative? The next one is, am I going to like being challenged and critiqued in the same manner in which I am challenging or criticizing someone else? Do I examine the full story before speaking out? Does the person I'm canceling doing their best to grow from what they have done? Do I give the same grace for others that I give myself when I mess up? So yeah, those are just some very important things to think about, because when you don't, it's like your emotions take over. And don't get me wrong, I love my emotions. I literally signed up for working with Gwen and said yeah due to my emotions because I thought she was really cool. Um
Thought thought I was really cool.
I know that
Guys.
I felt her amazing energy through our FaceTime call. um It's the same reason why I signed up being an intern for hashtag I can help.
Because
Um,
your thought was cool.
but the point is that emotions can be very helpful. You could start your own passion project through it. You could meet amazing people due to emotions. It also gives you red flags for um, friendships and relationships. It's extremely important to listen to your feelings, you know? But I feel like when it comes to canceling someone, you have a right to be offended, but you need to think about everything when you have that thought, right?
Absolutely. I have a I have another little thing with that. Another teacher always like to reference my teachers a lot apparently. Um, had told me when you get mad or upset at a person, at a post, at an email, at anything, give yourself 24 hours before you respond, before you do anything, because you can act on emotions that aren't the best emotions to act on. Because, like we talked about, emotions are wonderful, they're great. You should listen to them, like your feelings. But sometimes you can do things out of emotion that you'll regret 10 minutes later, an hour later, a day later. So always just give yourself 24 hours is what my teacher said. My mom says this too a lot. Just 24 hours just to get yourself together before you just go act on something, so that way you don't do something you regret and ruin
Mm-hmm.
their life and then make you constantly obsess over, because once it's out there, you're gonna just be obsessing over that one thing. You're gonna be acting on that same thing and you're just obsessed over it, like Zara's been talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's reactions and responses, right? So the reaction is like if someone punches you, you're gonna, I don't know, I scream. I scream a lot, so I would probably scream if someone were to punch me. Um, what would you do if someone punched you right in the gut?
Um, let's be honest. I would get really, really mad. I don't know what I'd do. Okay, if it was like my siblings or something, this can sound really bad. But like if it was my siblings or something, like just randomly punching in the gut, I'd probably get really mad and like we'd get into this huge brawl kind of thing. But if it was just like
Yeah.
a random person, like I don't know, I feel like I'd get really mad. I've never had it like experience, but well, I have experience. I've experienced like bullying and stuff, but never like punched in the stomach. You know what I mean? And so like, but I've never retaliated to anyone. I would probably yell. I'd probably get really, really mad and yell, but I wouldn't retaliate or anything. I'd just start yelling.
Sorry, I was like yawning. um, 3, 2, 1. Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense. So my reaction would be like a scream or just shouting at them. Anger takes over. Fear even, right? Like what if I got punched again? Um but
Exactly.
then there's like if I think about it later on that day, right? I would still be hurting, right? And I would expect like an apology or something from that person. Um, so my response would be like, if it's hurting, then I would put some ice over it and treat like a wound or treat my injury because that's like the correct response instead of having like this weird um, agitated moment, right? Like I can't be mad at that person forever. I have to, just accept it. I got punched. Okay. It was their fault, and it was also my fault, kind of. But
Like, what did you do to lead it to that point? You know what I
exactly.
mean?
But
If it's like you didn't do anything, don't blame
mhm,
yourself, please. Like that's something a completely different
emphasis.
topic. It's a whole different topic,
Thank you
but
for
blaming
clarifying
yourself.
that. As I said that, I was like, oh my god, what if the people start blaming themselves for literally every inconvenience ever?
Yeah,
Don't.
don't do that. Like if you have to know when you actually did something and when you didn't. Like a lot of people like divorce and stuff like that, kids will blame themselves when it has nothing to do with them. So like if you have an issue like that, like if somebody punched you out of the blue, like you didn't do anything, do not blame yourself. But if you did, like evaluate your actions before you go and blame yourself or not.
And also communicate with that person. Like when you guys are both in a calmer state of mind, I suggest like just talking to them in a calm environment, whether that's like if you guys are siblings or something and you've been having beef, um, do it over dinner or when you are watching a movie or something, or things like that. Or if it's with your friend, do it when you're in a group environment and just like, sort of whisper to them like, hey, did I do anything wrong? Or um, what's up? Just something like that. Make it a casual, safe environment and don't go accusing them straight off the bat. See, if your reaction would be like, hey man, what the F? Why did you do that to me? Oh my god, I hate you. Ew. Things like that, like overreacting. Um, but when you catch yourself in that situation, take a deep breath in and out, and in again and out again. And really think about the next things, create a plan, and yeah. Um,
With
that,
that said, though,
uh-huh.
like make sure the other person is also calm because if you're just calm, they might like it might rub off on them, but likelihood they might still be mad or upset or another emotion and it won't help any case. You want to both be at a good state of mind because if you're not, then the likelihood is you might make it worse.
Exactly. So that's basically like reaction versus response. And going back to cancel culture, one thing that it fails to do, because, it's all reactions, right? It's all, you did this, I hate you, like, canceled, hashtag blank cancel 2020, stuff like that. But it fails to hold people accountable, which is like a delayed response in my opinion, right? Because it happens like years after the person has been canceled. Holding a person accountable is basically giving them an opportunity to do better, and they're obligated to take responsibility. And I feel like a majority of cancel culture and a majority of people demand accountability. But then when the loud my bad. But when the loud minority, the obsessive cancel culture members take over, they believe, and keep in mind that they believe that they speak for everyone. That would inflict a very harmful pressure on the offender without an end. And it will always be going back and forth, back and forth. I'm pretty sure we're used to those crying on the floor YouTuber apology videos by now. But it's like, yeah, it's like we get this very, I don't know, dry apology. And it doesn't hit the spot, in my opinion. But that could be like my cancel culture side taking over. But it could also be another side that demands accountability. How, I'm going to do some name calling here. Shane Dawson, in his video, he always mentioned that he doesn't know that person that he was in the past. Two different people, right? But the thing is, they're the same person. He was like well over 20 when he made those videos. And he still continues to use these derogatory terms and make that quote edgy content. But by distancing himself from his past is very manipulative.
Yeah.
And he was victimizing himself. Not really. I don't know the proper terms. Guilt tripping?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because he was like, I'm like the worst person ever. I should just be canceled already. I don't know what's going on. I deserve this and that. But you can't be your own judge and jury, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there is a jury of the internet. Maybe like the banning bots or the moderators. Yeah, but the jury is
Banning.
us. your
That is
your whole entire but the jury, keep in mind, it's us, it's the audience, his audience. I've been watching Shane Dawson ever since 5th grade, right? And it was really heartbreaking to find out that he did all that stuff. And I unfollowed him, I unsubscribed, because that's my personal choice. But then it's also a good discussion to talk about, right? The things that he's done wrong and how can we could take notes on it. But again, this doesn't hold him accountable. We aren't saying, okay, you need to specifically apologize for this, this, and that. Instead, he hid from his past, created multiple excuses, didn't address the really deep stuff, and then this is the final punch that really kind of ticks me off. he wasn't active on social media, but then he releases merch. I don't
With
know.
you
It's
that kind of stuff, it's like by company stuff and like board stuff. So
I don't know. It's just very weird because if he has like this board behind him, right? Then you would think that his like apology would be a bit better. But I don't know. That's just my opinion. And then um we have Jenna Marbles who, did a complete overkill. I love Jenna. I might be a bit biased here, but Jenna is amazing. And she started her video by saying that she felt guilty by being called like a wholesome person by her fans. And she like apologized, and she also mentioned the action steps that she was doing in order to learn more about the topics and the whole entire scandal that she was involved in, right? Which is amazing, right? Like she laid it out completely out for and was completely transparent for her fans and her audience. But then she mentioned that she was quitting YouTube. So, yeah, that's complete overkill because she's already done enough at that point. What do you think about the two apology videos, Gwen?
I think that honestly, like when when you do something wrong, you're supposed to apologize. That is what you learn from a young age. Is you apologize. You'll have like you'll have when you're a toddler and you throw something, your mom's always like, "Oh, what do you like? Don't do that. Like, go apologize to that person if like you hit them or something." Like you're just learning that from a young age. Like if you hurt someone, you apologize.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're over the internet, even without cancel culture, you should apologize if you offend someone. And it shouldn't be like, oh, I'm just trying to save my brand. Like, I'm just going to apologize. Like, no, it needs to be heartfelt. Like, I'm not very into Shane Dawson or any of those kind of things. I kind of different side of YouTube at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, from what I've heard from like Zahra, I really should have watched the video before our podcast episode. But the apology should be heartfelt. And I'm not saying that as a cancel culture, like I support cancel culture or anything like that. But like, if you have a huge fan base like some of these people do, and you're out here saying things or doing things or acting a certain way that you know offends a certain belief, culture, um, anything like that, you should really think about your actions before you do stuff like that. And if you do offend people like that, you need to apologize because there are a bigger picture here, and it's not right for you to go and offend people and then just give a sort of apology like a, oh, I'm just out here to like save my brand, but like sorry guys, I hurt you. Like no. But then there's also like Jenna Marbles. Like I also don't know who that is. I just looked her up actually before this. But I don't think that she needed to leave. I think that she definitely heartfelt kind of thing, which it seemed like she did. And I, once again, never watched the video or anything like that. But just, there's, she way overkilled it, definitely. There's no need for her to leave. She needs to grow from her mistakes and not just, everyone needs to grow from their mistakes. It's the way of life. You make mistakes, you grow from them. But when it comes to canceling them, they don't get a chance to grow from their mistakes because the people don't let them. They aren't allowed to grow from the mistakes. And there'll be these people who are like, oh, well, your apology wasn't good enough, like all this stuff. And I'm not saying it is or isn't because I haven't watched these videos, but it's like, okay, so I'm not certain this will really explain what I'm saying with it, so I'll explain more after, but like, just because he can't love you the way you want him to love you doesn't mean he doesn't love you the way with everything he has. So, a person being canceled, right? They they make an apology video. You can tell the difference between just, oh, I'm trying to save myself, and an actual apology. But with that being said, like, when they make an actual apology and people are still saying, well, it wasn't good enough and stuff like that, like, and you expect so much more apology and more from them, like, what else, like, that's what they have, like, and they're trying to learn from it, but everyone's making it hard on them, but they're trying to grow and learn, and it's everything they have at the moment, and they're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
just, like, know exactly, like, all this stuff,
I
and
feel
it's
like there is a formula for like going back to math. There is a good formula for like actual like a good apology, right? Like addressing the situation on hand, saying I'm sorry. You know, some influencers, they don't even say I'm sorry, which is so funny.
they
Like,
just address what they did.
exactly. So saying I'm sorry, addressing the situation, having like a plan, or like saying the
Of
steps that
how
you did learn of, like, you know, the people that you offended or the thing that you did wrong, right? And then also like also being like grateful for this moment to learn. I feel like that's a little bit of an optional step though, but that's like a good
opportunity.
formula. But the fact that there are so many influencers who just think that, you know, um, adjusting the situation and, you know, just, it's like, okay, I could have like Googled that, like the scandal that you're in. I just heard it from your mouth now. Like, what do you want me to do? Hmm.
Exactly.
It's really weird when it comes down to that. Um, but yeah, just making sure that you, I feel like we shouldn't be fully obligated to keep our influencers in check. But now it feels like we sort of have to. If they're going to have all of these like scandals almost, it's important to realize how to differentiate between a reaction and response, because sometimes they do it as soon as they hear that they're getting canceled. They see their name on Twitter's trending, and then they grab the nearest device and start crying on the floor, um, which is great because, you know, we know that they have emotions, but that should already be a given. But one thing that they should do is, you know, actually think about what's going on and then go from there. So there's like a reaction and response thing for everyone involved, you know, whether you're doing the whole entire cancel culture thing or if you're an influencer getting canceled. Why do I have a feeling that we'll refer back to this video? Like if we ever get canceled. um, but yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
Absolutely. So, and with like all that being said too, with like the apology videos and stuff like that, it honestly, yeah, they people lose followers, but I've also noticed with cancel culture, like, you gain more publicity because you know that saying, all publicity is good publicity. That's exactly what cancel culture is leading to. There's an influencer from the Hype House, throwing out another name, Thomas. If you follow the Hype House and stuff like that, like, he was canceled for something, and he literally, it just made him more like popular because people figuring out who he was, and he literally turned his canceling into a movement, and he made merch for the cancel culture, and that's honestly, like, it's good, like, he's growing from it, and, like, he, uh, how to, like, it's good that he's growing from it, and he did, like, he gave his full side of the story, because there are always two sides of the story when it comes to two people who are being canceled, because in his case, it wasn't for, like, saying anything towards the community, but it was between two people that should have been dealt with off the internet. But when people bring it onto the internet, then people start canceling people because they don't know the whole side of the story. So then he took the whole cancel culture, which I love that saying, which is why, like, it's our title of this episode, because canceling cancel culture is something that really needs to be done in our society, because cancel culture is leading to obsession, it's leading to wrongful accusations, so many other, like, effects and things that are leading to issues. And we talk about bullying a lot, and in a sense cancel culture can be labeled under bullying depending on the situation. I have to put that out there. And so, honestly, cancel culture does not lead to anything good. You can be upset with an influencer, you can be upset with a person for saying something or doing something if it affects your culture, your belief, that kind of stuff. But, like, when it comes to, like, two people, like, that's none of your business. Like, honestly, they're getting publicity from it, and that's about it. And you're giving them the publicity for it. But you can be upset with a person for doing that kind of stuff, for, like, doing the stuff that affects your community or belief. And but if they're trying to make a change from it and you're constantly still canceling them for it, even though they've apologized, they're trying to change this stuff, that's where it can lead to some terrible effects. So we kind of are gonna leave off there with our canceling cancel culture. We would love to hear your guys' input with this, and talk about different things you've experienced or seen on the internet in our society, because cancel culture has become a really big thing lately. And, well, not even lately, it's been for a while. It's just
Mm-hmm.
it's very much, oh, with being in quarantine, stuff like that, it's become, like, huge, because in quarantine we have just time to sit around on our phones and in bed and just sit there and cancel people for one mess up. And I'm not saying messing up is okay, but it is okay because people make mistakes. We are all human. So, with that being said, our Instagram is Step Up for Change, as most of you guys know. Our personal Instagrams, if y'all really want to go follow us, because
You stalkers.
we tend to be pretty cool people. Mine is Gwenny.Collins9, and
Mm-hmm.
Zara is Marie.
Oh my god, I love this. I'm gonna spell it out, but it's also linked down below. Mehrene. That's my middle name, __.
Yes, and it's also in our story art. So,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the videos and stuff that we have referenced to in this episode will also be linked. Um, I think that is about it for
Wait,
this.
wait, wait.
Oh,
Wait, I have something.
she
I really
has.
want to give a quick shout out to Grace, our editor. She's amazing. Um, and also Alexis for really like helping us out with our whole entire branding on our feed and making sure that everything's okay and that we really keep the vibe and the energy um, with our podcast, and we reflect that um, on our Instagram and our other social platforms, and it's been such like a big deal to us. Um, and also Izzy for those phone calls at nighttime. Oh my god, they're iconic. Um, we're due for one, definitely. Hit us up. um, but yeah. Okay, you could end it.
Well, with that awesome little closer of thanking people, which I'm thankful for those people too. Don't get me wrong. um, I think that is the end of episode 3. Um, we hope you all enjoyed this episode. Please, um, please go DM us or comment on our latest post, anything that you took from this episode or want to talk about anything at all. Our DMs are always open. And we didn't do them this episode, but the cards from last episode hopefully will make a comeback another episode. If y'all want them, please let us know. And I think that is it. Bye, y'all.
Yes, sir.